everybody, this is Alchemist 2, and I'm back again with another book review. I just recently read Mental by Jaime Lowe, Lithium, Love, and Losing My Mind, and she actually did a lot of research on bipolar mania, and I myself am bipolar manic. I'm more manic than I am depressive. And she talks about melancholia, how that term developed, the origin of melancholia, hysteria. Of course, if you know anything about your medical terminology, hysteria comes from hysteros, or uterus, and the Greeks always believed that the uterus was a different animal, quite literally a different animal that lived within the body and had its own passions within the loins of the woman and did whatever it darn well pleased. And that women couldn't be controlled due to that. And what was so funny is one of the remedies for this, for women who had hysterics, that's why they had swooning chairs in the Victorian era, because a lot of women would pretend, to swoon, and the physician would come, or the midwife would come, and they would masturbate. Seriously, they would give the lady on the swooning chair, they would give them a hand job, like literally, and bring them to orgasm, because it was thought that women couldn't orgasm by themselves, and the doctors always complained of their hands cramping, and that's how the vibrator was invented. So yeah, I've known that for a while. I thought, ooh, the things you learn from books like this. But bipolar mania wasn't really discovered until '94. I thought, and mental illness has been around since 409, according to this book. It was back in 409 AD when, or they say BCE now, but I say AD just because I'm old. But AD, when it was discovered that mental patients were put into wards, so to speak, to help them. They didn't really know what caused. That was because of the Middle Ages, it was the humors, the different humors of the body that were said to have control. I'm surprised she didn't have that in there, because I've read that so many times and it's just become a part of my repertoire. But bipolar 2 is what she was diagnosed with. She saw strange things. She believed she could speak to Michael Jackson, and he would take her to Neverland or his tunnel, and Jim Henson was dead, and Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, she could relate to him in Lithium, of course. Lithium was the main drug for bipolar depression, and Depakote. She talks about Depakote, which is what I take. I'm not ashamed of this. The label doesn't define who I am. I know who I am. And the fact that she wrote something so telling and revolutionary and revelatory, I think is very brave and bold. And people who have mental disease, I don't really think it's a disease. I just think that science doesn't understand the mind, and this is the surface. So they can't really comprehend what's going on in there with all the wires and the electricity. Is just very challenging. But this was a sensational book, and I love the fact that she met Cha-Cha Muldowney, because that's another one of my favorite people, and she was in the NRA. I don't know if she's still alive or not, but you hear about her quite a bit. She was literally a trailblazer. Ha! I'm so funny! But she she actually set records, and she was responsible for giving women the forefront in NHRA, because now you see a lot more women getting involved in what were recently male-dominated sports, like racing. I like Cha-Cha. Cha-Cha's cool. And she talks about other famous people having bipolar disorder, like Beethoven did, Kurt Cobain definitely did. Who else? Dickens did, Lewis Carroll did. I'm trying to remember her list. It was absolutely fantastic. And I'm thinking a lot of Monet, not Monet, Van Gogh. Yeah, Van Gogh definitely was bipolar. Picasso. Abraham Lincoln, I think, was bipolar, as he was depressed. Well, they said he was depressed. We all know that, but I'm thinking he was bipolar. I don't think that she mentioned Abraham in her book, but it seems like a lot of the really creative people have that. And she also mentioned the fact that comedians, Jewish or non-Jewish, use humor as an offset or a coping mechanism just to help them survive. I thought, yeah, that's true. I've read that before. I thought, well, this is old news. This is something I've encountered previously. Mental is just a sensational book. I think, just like with Don't Call Me Princess, like I reviewed before, it should be, these topics shouldn't be, like abortion shouldn't be taboo. Miscarriages shouldn't be taboo. A lot of these things, I know it's more private and it's a personal thing, just like mental illness is something that either you inherit or you have something's wrong chemically or electronically up here, something not quite right. But that doesn't define you. That doesn't make you who you really are. So don't let it get you down. If someone says, oh, you've got such and such, or, you can always just go your own way, as the song says, and beat your own drum. There's a really good song, and I know I've mentioned The Greatest Showman before, but the song This Is Me, which is one of my anthems, the bearded lady, she sings that there are parts of her that society thinks that are broken and damaged, and they don't even want to look at her. They think, oh, you're repulsive, you're a freak. But she says it's just so empowering. I think it's absolutely beautiful and poetic, and I think we could take a lot away from what she sings in Great Showman when she says, I'm not going to let these things tear me down. I'm not going to let them trample all over me and think that their words can hurt me, even though, yeah, the words may hurt me, but I'm tearing down those definitions that might be limiting, because I know who I am. I dance to the beat of my own drum, and no matter what, this is who I am, and you can't stop me, because look out, I'm coming, and I'm gonna shine. And yeah, it's just I'm gonna shine bright like a diamond, and I'm gonna soar high like an eagle. And it's funny because I was thinking about all these things, and I was coming home, and spring is around the corner, and I just think I'm one of those people. I want to be a good example to others, especially when times get rough, because sometimes they do. Just people are living too much in a kind of a lower vibration, I think, and that's what causes them the most